I'm going to make a case for Northeastern Illinois University starting a Rideshare program that offers software where students can link up with one another to share rides to campus, thereby reducing their costs to travel and establishing social connections that would likely increase retention and possibly increase enrollments. On this slide we see two maps. On the left we have a isochrone map, which is a contour map that shows drive times instead of elevations. So Northeastern is in the center of the blue area, and then we see the 10-minute drive and a 20-minute drive and a 30-minute drive. And if we can compare, it would be nice to have the students on this map, but we can see that our students travel for up to 50 miles, and the map on the right is a 50-mile radius. Students beyond 50 miles are not shown, and students within 3 miles are not shown for reasons I'll explain in a bit. So you can see that our students come from far and wide. The average travel for students to Northeastern is 7.5 miles, a little bit more if you include students that are traveling farther. If you count up the number of miles that the students travel one way, it's 84,000 miles. If you assume they are traveling there and back twice a week, it's 335,000 miles a week, or 5 million miles a semester, more than 10 million miles a year, and it's 5.6 cents a mile, which is the state reimbursement rate. That amounts to $600,000 of cost per year, not to mention the time, which totals to about 70 hours in the car for each person. Now, the students here, the reason why I eliminated students beyond 50 miles because I figured they're too dispersed from one another to carpool, and within 3 miles they're probably too close to the campus to really consider carpooling. Here are two histograms showing that the closer you are to campus, the more students you'll find, and that's not unexpected. But what's important here, I think, is the averages. I put a buffer around each of these students of a half mile and another buffer of 1 mile, and then I counted up the number of other students that are within that half mile or 1 mile and averaged them. So within a half mile buffer of the students on this map, there are 34 other active students, current students at Northeastern. Within a 1 mile buffer, there are 119. That just kind of underscores the potential for rideshare. A couple of concerns have been raised over the years, in the last couple of years when I've been making this proposal. One of them, of course, is the cost. Who's going to pay for the software? Well, the Green Fee Committee, which allocates a $3 per student per semester environmental fund, has expressed interest because of the tremendous carbon savings that rideshare and carpooling represents. Another concern that comes to mind is the safety concern. We certainly don't want to put any students at risk or employees at risk, as this would also apply to employees. And but when you think about it, this type of arrangement has an initial introduction in the beginning of the semester where people meet one another, and that can be done on campus. It can be done at coffee houses, in public places, but most likely students would want to meet with one another on campus, get to know each other a little bit before they join in this kind of shared driving agreement. The service can be limited to students who have an NEIU email address, and that's a very limited group. After you leave campus for a period of, I think it's several semesters, you lose your email address, and so really basically those with NEIU email addresses are current students, and so that can be restricted that way. You wouldn't have total strangers, and also you would be able to track down identities through the email address if necessary. There can be a user agreement that students sign before they join and add their data to this. That would protect the university from any liability, but of course the real concern about safety remains. However, there's a certain amount of danger in walking home from a bus stop or L station at night, and this might actually be considerably safer than some of the alternatives. Now, ease of use, this is a matter of choosing the right software, and certainly there are some that are easy to use, and I've found one. I'll show it to you soon. And then the possibility that we'll lose a little parking revenue. The parking garage has to pay for itself. But this is, in a sense, an odd concern because the idea of the rideshare is to make it easier for students to come to campus, and so the lost parking revenue, you would think, would be more than offset by increased retention and enrollments. Now, there was a thesis out of the Department of Geography and Environmental Studies by Bennett Haller, who works for the Department of Planning and Development in the city of Chicago, called A Template for Reducing Rates of Driving to Chicago Colleges and Universities. It actually had a literature review that talked about travel to campuses all across the country, and then focused in on Chicago, and then focused in more specifically on Northeastern, using some data that was available to this student because he was a Northeastern student. And Bennett Haller came up with some recommendations. The very first recommendation is to privilege carpooling. He was talking about reserving carpooling space, but certainly we would also benefit from offering carpool service that is online. I've taken this proposal to several venues, and often I learn about a new concern or hear an old concern. I think all of those issues have been addressed now. And the last time I went to the University Advisory Council, which is a very high-level body that advises the president, they voted unanimously to recommend to the president that we implement rideshare software. There are a number of rideshare options. Caleb Gallimore, who you see here, had a class called Metropolitan Transportation Problems and Planning serendipitously while this project was underway, and he had all his students investigate carpool solutions and rank them and rate them and show their features and make a comment on whether they think it would be appropriate for Northeastern or not. Well, I studied this table and came up with the top one. Co-Movie is the name of it, and I've contacted them, gone back and forth. They've actually made some commitments to add some features to the program when we commit to it. It is a very inexpensive. His monthly fee of I believe it's $150 for an entire site, regardless of how many people use it, and it has all these features. I'm going to read you the features, and then we'll take a look at the program itself. It's very easy to use. It crosses platforms. You can use it on your Android, iPad, iPhone, and on the computer. It is you can limit it to students with an NEIU address by iteration. Send them an email, and they have to validate to that email. And you can also, of course, require people to sign a user agreement or to read a statement before using it. You can put some safety information in there. Administrators can step in and block a user if there are complaints, and can remove that block. An administrator can, in other words, intervene if necessary, although it should be self-running. Users should be able to identify themselves as either staff or student, so they get into two separate pools. So this would be available to staff as well. It would allow students to say something about themselves, maybe with a drop-down, their major of study, or maybe with the text box, be able to say something like, I'm flexible in the morning, but I have to be home by 4, or I want to speak Spanish on the way in, or what have you. Anything that would be relevant to the ride ought to be able to be typed into that text box. Okay, now I'm going to take you right to the program because they worked up a prototype so you can see how it actually will work. Okay, a new user would create an account. I've created one here so you can see my login, and then I log in here. The background images, of course, can be changed. The icons can be swapped. There's a lot of control over how this program looks. And here we see a map of a campus and students. These are all fake students with fake addresses, and there I am. Okay, and when I drift over my icon, which is identified with a separate look, the little greenhouse, I see a logical route of me to campus. In the long run, this could also be used for El Centro, but I'm going to limit it to only the main campus. And I do that this way. I click on the plus and I say I only want to see my destination. So that will remove El Centro from this map. And in the long run, if this is popular, El Centro could join on for a slightly an additional fee, but they wanted to show that this is expandable. So here's another person. This happens to be me too. I signed in with a different account, and so you can see that you can put your own icon there. This could be a photograph of myself, and you have my telephone number, which is optional. My destination is the main campus. My time of travel would be here, and they told me that they would add a nice big text box here for any other information that our students would like to add. And that would likely include major. So when you drift over the number 2, you see that there are 2 people that are living close to that, and as this becomes popular, you'll probably find little clusters around, and you click on the person's name and you get their information. And then if you want to send them an email, you can send them an email right here. You don't know what their email address is, you don't know what their name is, but you can send them a note and they will get it. And that way it's very simple, very sweet. It's very intuitive. It looks just like this on your iPad, and you can then update your information and say I've got riders already. It can't take anybody else, or remove your account if you like, if you're all set. And it's as easy as that. Now, if I was a new person, I would say it would give me an icon and say, where do you live? And you just drop it right in. You could just go right into where you live and put it right on your house or nearby intersection. There's nothing that has to be revealing about the location either. So you can be very anonymous. These fake people here have these fake students here have their photographs, but there's no reason why that has to be shown. And that's as simple as it is. It's a service they would set up for us. People would then just drop their own names in and start to hook up with other people around them, and hopefully establish friendship, social networks out in the neighborhoods. Would elevate the visibility of Northeastern in that way. Because of the commitment to one another of getting to campus, it would be a commitment to attending class, it would be a commitment to their education, to finishing their degree, and likely increase retention. So there's a lot to be gained from this. It's at a low cost, and that's what I'm asking the green fee to fund at $150 a month for a commitment of a year to see how it goes.